The antique jewelry box was the final gift my mother gave me before cancer took her. I was 16 when she pressed it into my hands, her fingers shaking but her eyes clear. "Keep it safe," she whispered. "Everything you need to know is inside." 3 years later, I watched that same box turn to ashes in our living room fireplace, while my stepmother Patricia's laughter echoed off the walls. "Honestly, Emma, it is just junk," Patricia said, prodding the burning box with a poker. "This house needs good decluttering, and that ugly thing was taking up space in my china cabinet." I stood there, strangely calm, watching the flames consume the intricate wooden box. Patricia had no idea that I had already found what my mother had hidden inside: documents that would change everything. The real papers were safely kept in my lawyer's office, while Patricia gleefully destroyed a replica I planted, knowing she could not resist the urge to hurt me once more. "Nothing to say," she smirked, clearly disappointed by my lack of reaction. "Usually you are so precious about your mother's thanks." I shrugged, fighting to keep my expression neutral. "You are right, it is just stuff." Her eyes narrowed, suspicious of my easy acceptance. In the 3 years since she married my father, I had never allowed her casual cruelty to go unpunished. But today was different. Today, I knew something she did not. My mother had been smarter than anyone gave her credit for. While everyone thought she was just a quiet homemaker, she had been carefully planning for my future. The jewelry box contained documents revealing that she had been a silent partner in my father's successful construction company. She had invested her inheritance into the business when it was struggling, becoming a 40% owner. Her share passed to me upon her death. Patricia had spent the last 3 years systematically taking over my father's life, convincing him to distance himself from me, all while positioning herself to control the company. What she did not know was that her careful manipulations were about to collapse. "Your father and I have been discussing," Patricia said, settling onto the leather sofa she had insisted on purchasing to replace my mother's comfortable old one. "We believe it is time you moved out. You are 19 now, and this constant reminder of your mother is not healthy for anyone." I suppressed a smile. "Is that what you think? Do not take that with you," she retorted. "Your father concurs. In fact, he has already signed the documents to remove you from the house deed. This is our home now, and you must begin your own life." If only she knew about the other papers my father had signed. The ones granting me power of attorney when he experienced a health scare last year. The ones Patricia never learned about, because she was too busy redecorating the house to accompany him to his doctor's appointments. "When do you want me to leave?" I inquired, watching her face light up with victory. "The end of the week should be enough time. You can stay with your friend Jessica until you figure something out." She stood up, brushing imaginary dust from her designer pants. "I am doing this for your own good, Emma. You need to stop living in the past." The irony of her burning my mother's jewelry box while telling me to stop living in the past was not lost on me. But I remained silent, allowing her to believe she had won. Tomorrow she would learn exactly what she had done. That evening, my father arrived home late. As usual, Patricia had him working longer hours, claiming the company required more attention. In reality, she was keeping him exhausted and distant, easier to manipulate. "Emma," he said, using my childhood nickname for the first time in years. "Patricia told me about the box. I regret it, but perhaps it is for the best. Fresh starts and all that." I studied his face, noting the new lines around his eyes, the gray that had crept into his hair since Patricia entered our lives. "Dad, when was the last time you truly looked at the company's books?" He frowned. "Patricia manages all of that now. She has a knack for business, you see. I should concentrate on the building side and let her handle the finances. That won't cause you trouble." What is that supposed to signify? Yet, he perceived a brief flicker of worry in his eyes. Deep down, he sensed something was amiss. "Nothing, Father. Jess, perhaps you should investigate tomorrow." I kissed his cheek and went upstairs, leaving him standing in the entrance hall with a troubled expression. In my room, I took out my phone and messaged Mr. Harrison, my mother's former attorney. She arranged it for tomorrow. His response was instantaneous. 9 o'clock in the morning. Everything is prepared. I lay in bed that night, listening to Patricia's voice rise from downstairs as she spoke on the phone. likely to one of her country club acquaintances, finally disposing of her. The house will be much calmer without all those pictures and recollections. I reflected on my mother, on how she had anticipated something like this could occur. People are not always what they appear, Emma. She told me during those last days, "Your father is a good man, but he is sometimes overly trusting. I asked you to promise me you would be wiser." I had made that promise, and tomorrow Patricia would discover just how well I kept it. The following morning, I dressed carefully in the suit my mother had bought me for my high school graduation. Patricia was already at the breakfast table when I descended, looking at her phone while my father ate quietly. "Do you have work today?" she inquired without looking up. "Actually," I replied, pouring myself a cup of coffee. I thought I would stop by the office to see how things were progressing. That drew her attention. Her head snapped up, her eyes narrowing. "The office? Why would you do that?" "Simply curious about the family enterprise. After all, it is my inheritance as well." Patricia laughed. But there was a sharpness in it. "Inheritance? Please. Your father established that company from nothing. You are merely a child pretending to be important." I took a sip of my coffee, savoring the moment. "Actually, my mother helped build it too. Or did you not know that?" The color drained from Patricia's face as my father looked up from his breakfast, confusion etched across his features. "Emma, what are you talking about?" I set down my coffee cup and smiled. "Why don't we all go to the office? I have some interesting documents to show you." Patricia's hand gripped her phone tightly. "Whatever game you are playing, Emma, it will not work. Your father transferred the company to me months ago." "Did he?" I asked innocently. "Are you certain?" For the first time since she entered our lives, I saw genuine fear in Patricia's eyes, and this was only the start. The drive to the office was tense. Patricia insisted on riding with my father in her luxury SUV, likely trying to manage the situation before we arrived. I followed in my modest seat, watching through the windshield as she gestured animatedly. My father's shoulders grew more rigid with each passing mile. The company headquarters had not changed much since my mother's time. It was a 3-story brick building, proudly displaying Anderson construction across the front. What had changed was the atmosphere inside. The friendly faces I remembered from childhood were replaced by nervous employees who darted glances at Patricia before quickly looking away. Mr. Harrison waited in the conference room, his silver hair and kind eyes, exactly as I recalled from my mother's final days. Patricia's face darkened when she saw him. "What is he doing here?" she demanded, turning to my father. "James, this is absurd. Your daughter is clearly trying to cause trouble." My father looked uncertain, glancing between his wife and the lawyer, who had served our family for 20 years. "Patricia, let us just hear what they have to say." "Please, everyone, sit," Mr. Harrison said, opening his briefcase. "We have quite a bit to discuss." Patricia sat on the edge of her chair like a bird about to fly. "This is ridiculous. I am the chief financial officer of this company. All legal matters must pass through me." "That is actually the first thing we need to deal with," Mr. Harrison responded, sliding a document across the table. "According to the company bylaws, any significant changes to leadership roles require approval from all shareholders. Your appointment as chief financial officer was never properly authorized." "What shareholders?" Patricia scoffed. "James owns this company completely." I leaned forward, unable to hide my satisfaction in my voice. "Actually, he does not. Mother owned 40% of Anderson Construction. She invested her entire inheritance when father was just beginning. And now that chair belongs to me." The color left Patricia's face as my father picked up the document, studying it with growing worry. "James," she said, her voice sweet, "you know that cannot be true. We have reviewed all the company documents." "Not all of them," Mr. Harrison interrupted. "These were kept in trust until Emma turned 19, which happened last month. Margaret was very specific about this in her will." My father's hands shook slightly as he looked at it. "Maggie did invest at the beginning," he said slowly. "I forgot. She insisted on making it official. She said it was good business practice." "She was correct," I said softly. "Mother was always right about these matters." Patricia's calm broke. "This is absurd. Those papers could be fake, and even if they are real, what does it matter?" "James signed everything over to me months ago." "Did he?" Mr. Harrison raised an eyebrow, producing another document. Are you referring to these transfer papers? The ones dated February 15th. Yes, Patricia grabbed them victoriously. Right here, James signed full control over to me. Check the date again, I suggested. February 15th, the day father was in the hospital for a heart scare. The day you claimed he signed these papers, he was under heavy sedation. My father's expression grew grim. Mr. Harrison confirmed that I do not recall signing anything that day because you did not. However, you did sign another document during that hospital stay. A power of attorney granting Emma the authority to safeguard your interests should you become incapacitated, which you were on February 15th. Patricia's hands began to tremble. No, this cannot be happening, I added, nodding to Mr. Harrison, who produced additional papers. We have had forensic accountants examine the financial records. Would you like to explain the transfers to your personal account or the shell company you established to divert construction profits? The silence in the conference room was overwhelming. My father stood up. So suddenly, his chair tipped backward. Patricia, tell me this is not true. She reached for him, but he stepped away. James, dear, you do not comprehend. I was securing our future. Emma would have inherited half of everything, this ungrateful child who knows nothing about business. I understand enough. I intervened to know that fraud is a crime, just as forging signatures on company documents is. Patricia's face twisted with fury. You planned this, she hissed. You allowed me to destroy that jewelry box knowing you could not resist the opportunity to hurt me again. Yes, I did. I turned to my father, whose face had aged years in the last hour. Dad, I regret that you discovered this way. But Mother made me promise to protect what she helped build. He nodded slowly, the shock in his eyes yielding to resolve. Mr. Harrison began, given the evidence of financial wrongdoing, we have several choices. Patricia stood up suddenly, her chair scraping on the floor. I wish to speak with my own attorney. Of course, Mr. Harrison smiled. In fact, I advise you to call them right away. The forensic accounting report has already been sent to the appropriate authorities. She turned to my father, tears welling in her eyes. James, please, everything I did was for us. You cannot let her destroy what we have built. My father's voice was quiet but firm. Patricia, you have been stealing from my company, lying to me, and trying to force my daughter out of her home. There is no us left. Patricia's facade finally broke completely. She snatched her designer purse from the table and stormed toward the door, pausing only to spit out, "You will regret this, Emma. Both of you will." As the door slammed shut behind her, my father sank back into his chair, looking older than I had ever seen him. Emmy, I was such a fool. I moved to his side, placing a hand on his shoulder. She deceived many people, Dad, but Mother knew something like this might occur. That is why she left me the documents. Why? She ensured I was old enough to understand what to do with them. He covered my hand with his own. Your mother was always the intelligent one. I should have seen what Patricia was doing to us. To you we can fix it, I assured him. Together, Mr. Harrison cleared his throat gently. We should discuss next steps. The authorities will want statements, and there is the matter of the company leadership to resolve. I squeezed my father's shoulder, feeling him straighten under my touch. We had a great deal of work ahead of us. But for the first time in 3 years, I felt like I had my father back, and somewhere I knew Mother was smiling. 6 months after that day in the conference room, Anderson Construction was finally on track. The forensic audit had revealed the full extent of Patricia's deceit. Nearly $2 million had been embezzled through various schemes. She had been arrested attempting to board a flight to the Cayman Islands. Her designer handbags were filled with cash and jewelry purchased with stolen company funds. The criminal case against her was irrefutable. Between the forged documents, the embezzled funds, and the attempted flight, she faced significant imprisonment. Her emotional performance at the courthouse, claiming she sought only to secure her future, failed when prosecutors disclosed her dating profile, active for the last year, seeking a wealthy new beginning. However, the true change occurred not in the company's finances, but in my relationship with my father. Working together to restore what Patricia had almost ruined brought us closer than we have since Mom passed away. He urged me to take an active role in the company, not merely as a shareholder, but as someone offering fresh ideas and perspective. One evening, while reviewing old company photographs, he told me your mother would be so proud. We found a picture of Mom at the first project site, smiling beside Dad, her investment making their dream possible. She always said you had her knack for business. We restored Mom's photos to the office walls, and her presence seemed to revitalize the company. Employee morale improved as we reversed Patricia's draconian policies. Former staff members who had departed under her leadership began to return, bringing their experience and loyalty back to Anderson Construction. The house also transformed. We donated Patricia's modern furniture to charity, replacing it with pieces that restored warmth to our home. Mom's garden, which Patricia had allowed to decline, bloomed again under our care. One evening, as Dad and I watched the sunset in the backyard, he gave me a small box. Inside was a key. "What is this?" I asked, though I recognized it instantly. "The key to your mother's study," he said quietly. "Patricia persuaded me to secure it afterward. Well, after, but it belongs to you now. Everything inside should be yours." The study remained exactly as Mom had left it, preserved like a time capsule. Her desk calendar still held her final appointments. Her reading glasses still rested by her favorite books. On the bookshelf was another jewelry box identical to the one Patricia had destroyed. She had two made. Dad explained while I opened it that one was for keeping and one for showing. That was your mother always thinking ahead. Inside this box was a letter dated just days before her death. "My dearest Emma, if you are reading this, you have already faced your first true test of strength. Remember that true power is not in what we possess, but in how we safeguard what is important. You protected our legacies, not from greed, but out of love. That makes all the difference. I regret that I could not be there to help you through this, but I knew you would find your way. You were always the smartest one in the family, even if you did not realize it yet. Take care of your father, but do not forget to take care of yourself. And remember, sometimes the best revenge is not destroying what others build, but in building something better yourself. All my love, Mom." I wiped tears from my eyes as Dad wrapped an arm around my shoulders. Outside, the sun was setting on another day at Anderson Construction, where both Mom's photos and mine now hung proudly in the lobby. She had given me more than documents in that jewelry box. She had given me the strength to stand up for myself and the wisdom to know how to do it right. Patricia had thought burning that box would destroy me. Instead, it had set me